Welcome to tonight's sleep story. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let go of the day. Allow yourself to relax and settle into a peaceful state. Let's drift into a soothing story together as you begin your journey into a restful and rejuvenating sleep. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a grand civilization where the shifting sands of history have settled to reveal the awe-inspiring presence of Hatshepsut, one of the first great female rulers in the ancient world. The golden sun rises over the Egyptian desert, casting its warm light on the towering temples and the intricate hieroglyphs that tell stories of gods and mortals. You feel the gentle breeze carrying the whispers of an ancient past, and in the distance, the magnificent Great Pyramids loom, silent witnesses to the rise of this extraordinary queen. Hatshepsut, born to the royal family of Egypt, was not meant to rule, at least not according to the norms of her time. The throne of Egypt, a powerful position, was traditionally held by men. But Hatshepsut, in a stunning break from convention, ascended to the throne with intelligence, ambition, and courage. Her father's death set the stage for her rise, but it was her grace and determination that made her reign remarkable. Rather than simply ruling as regent for her young stepson, she declared herself pharaoh, wearing the royal crown and the ceremonial beard that signified her authority. Feel the awe of the moment when Hatshepsut first took power. Imagine her stepping into the vast palace halls of Thebes, her heart steady as she faced the immense weight of responsibility that came with ruling Egypt. She stood alone, a woman in a world dominated by men, but she was not deterred. Hatshepsut knew that she must prove her worth not only through words, but through action. She would transform Egypt, ushering in a golden age of prosperity. As you walk through the Temple of Karnak, you feel the resonance of Hatshepsut's architectural achievements, structures built in her name that still stand today. The towering columns and immense walls, adorned with scenes of Hatshepsut's reign, depict her divine favor and strategic acumen. In her reign, Egypt flourished. She expanded trade routes, ensuring that precious goods like myrrh and gold flowed into Egypt from distant lands. Her expedition to the land of Punt brought wealth and exotic goods, establishing her as a ruler who understood the importance of international diplomacy. As you pass by these ancient stone carvings, you can almost hear the echoes of her voice, issuing decrees that commanded respect not only from Egypt's elite, but from foreign dignitaries as well. Hatshepsut's reputation as a wise and capable ruler spread far and wide, despite the challenges she faced from those who believed that a woman could not lead. She proved that strength is not defined by gender, but by the ability to lead with wisdom and to adapt in the face of adversity. In the quiet halls of her temple, you can feel the soft glow of her legacy, a legacy of grace and power that transcended the limitations of her time. Hatshepsut's reign may have been brief, but it was one of remarkable vision, one that laid the groundwork for future queens who would take inspiration from her and carry on her legacy. She was not just a woman who held power, she was a pharaoh who reshaped the very fabric of her nation, a queen whose name would echo through the ages. As you close your eyes, imagine her walking through the royal gardens of Thebes, Surrounded by the scent of jasmine and the gentle sound of flowing water from the Nile, Hatshepsut stands as a symbol of what is possible when a woman steps into her full power, a figure who redefined what it meant to rule, and whose legacy continues to inspire generations long after her reign. Her story reminds us that courage and determination are not bound by time, and that the greatest of leaders can rise from the most unexpected places. The morning light gently filters through the ornate windows of the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg, casting long shadows across the marble floors. The air is thick with the scent of freshly cut flowers and the faintest trace of incense wafting from the nearby court. In this grand setting, the story of Catherine the Great unfolds, a woman who would transform an entire empire, not born into power, but one who seized it with unmatched intelligence and determination. Born in Stettin, Catherine, originally Sophia of Hatshepsut, was far from a woman of destiny. She was a minor German princess married off to the Emperor Peter III of Russia in a political arrangement. Yet, this marriage, initially viewed as a mere alliance, became the catalyst for Catherine's ascension to one of the most powerful thrones. In Europe, feel the cool weight of the room around you as you imagine the young Catherine standing in the shadows of her husband's ineffectiveness and the mounting tensions of the Russian court. Peter, though the emperor, was inept, and his reign was filled with discontent, which left Catherine to watch from the sidelines, learning and plotting her next move. The air is thick with anticipation as Catherine, growing more determined, begins to influence the court. Her keen intellect, political savvy, and ability to navigate the complex web of Russian politics set her apart from the other women in the palace. It was not just her beauty that caught the eyes of the Russian elite, but her ability to connect, to understand the deep currents of power within the empire. While Peter was distracted, Catherine was winning over key allies within the court, men who recognized her brilliance and began to see her as more than just a queen. Feel the hum of whispers around you, as if the very air in the palace knew that the time of change was approaching. As you walk through the palatial halls, feel the weight of Catherine's strategy as she took matters into her own hands. In 1762, she staged a coup, deposing Peter and seizing the throne for herself. This bold move, though risky, was executed with the precision of a master tactician. Catherine's reign, which would last for over 3 decades, is remembered for its political brilliance, but also for her vision. She did not merely rule, she shaped Russia into a modern power. She expanded Russian territory, strengthened the economy, and embraced the philosophy of the Enlightenment, all while navigating the treacherous waters of court intrigue and rebellion. Asterisks step into the private chambers of Catherine, where the faint sound of her quill on parchment fills the air as she drafts policies and reforms. She was a strategist, forever considering the future of Russia, yet humanitarian in her approach, striving to modernize the country. She extended her empire's reach through successful military campaigns, but it was her intellect, her willingness to learn, and her love of education that set her apart. The palace is filled with the distant sound of scholars debating ideas she encouraged, And in her court, the brightest minds of the Enlightenment found a welcome home. Her legacy is not without its challenges, however. Rebellions like the Pagashev rebellion reminded Catherine of the fragility of power. But rather than yielding to fear, Catherine's resilience shines through. Each challenge she faced only strengthened her resolve to protect and empower Russia. Feel her determination as she confronts these trials, never losing sight of her vision for a strong and prosperous empire. In the stillness of this moment, imagine Catherine's quiet moments, alone in her private study, contemplating her empire's future. Surrounded by books, maps, and the soft glow of candles, she reflects not just on her political triumphs, but on her legacy as one of Russia's greatest rulers. Her reign, though marked by political intrigue, war, and reform, is ultimately a reflection of her extraordinary vision, a woman who rose from the shadows of her marriage to become a towering figure in history. Now, as you rest, let the calming presence of Catherine's quiet strength surround you. She embodies a determined calm, a quiet confidence that shaped not only the destiny of an empire, but the course of history. Let her example remind you that true power often comes from patience, intellect, and the courage to act when the time is right. Just as Catherine transformed Russia, so too can you shape the path before you with grace, strategy, and the resolve to face whatever challenges lie ahead. As the night deepens, a quiet, peaceful reflection takes over you, like a soft wave, washing over your mind. In this tranquil space, you travel back to a time of swords, crowns, and unification, the reign of Isabella of Castile, a woman whose vision shaped the very future of Spain and the world beyond its shores. Picture yourself walking through the grand halls of the Alcazar of Segovia, where the sound of footsteps echoes off the stone walls, the weight of history pressing down in every corner. It is here that Isabella, once a young princess, took up the mantle of leadership in a land torn apart by division and conflict. Feel the stirring energy of the young Isabella, who, in the face of political intrigue, stood tall with the strength and resolve of a queen. She was not born into a smooth path to power. Rather, her ascension to the throne was a turbulent journey. Isabella faced both external threats from rival factions and internal strife within her own family. But where others faltered, Isabella's resilience shone brightly, her eyes always fixed on one goal: to unite the fractured Spanish kingdom. As you walk through the royal chambers, imagine the weight of decisions Isabella had to make. The political alliances, the marriage to Ferdinand of Aragon, which would create the foundation for the unification of Spain. Their union marked the dawn of a new era for Spain, a country that, under their rule, would become a global power. Their partnership was not just a marriage of love, but one of strategy and vision, the merging of two realms, each with its own unique culture, language, and customs. But beneath this powerful union was Isabella's intellect, her ability to see beyond the present and into the future, shaping not only Spain, but influencing the world in ways no one could have predicted. Feel the exhilaration of the moment when Isabella and Ferdinand stand before their court, Having conquered a kingdom and now preparing for a world-changing journey, the Spanish Inquisition, though controversial, was a political move to bring about religious unity, though not without its darker consequences. Isabella's decision to embrace the Catholic faith as the central pillar of her rule cemented her legacy as the Queen of Christian Spain. Her authority shaped the lives of millions for better or worse, and her influence rippled through history, forever entwined with the fate of Spain. As you feel her steady resolve, imagine her vision for the future, a future that would lead to the sponsorship of Christopher Columbus, whose voyage to the New World would open the door to the age of exploration. Isabella's ambition and foresight are evident in this crucial decision, which altered the course of history. With the discovery of the Americas, Spain would soon become the center of a vast empire stretching across continents, forever changing the face of the world. Isabella, though she never set foot on those foreign lands, was the catalyst for a revolution that would reshape human civilization. And yet, as you rest, feel the underlying sorrow that accompanied Isabella's reign. Her personal sacrifices, the toll of war, and the loss of her beloved daughter, Winna, were a constant weight she carried. Her heart, though strong, bore the scars of loss and regret. She ruled with a fierce sense of duty, but the personal cost was undeniable. Feel her internal struggle as she balanced her heart with her role as queen, knowing that the sacrifices she made would shape not only her kingdom but her soul as well. As the queen of a united Spain, Isabella understood the cost of greatness. It was not just her empire's expansion that made her legendary, but her ability to endure personal trials, her faith, and her unwavering belief that duty to her people came first. But even in the face of grief, Isabella's leadership did not falter. Her steadfastness in the face of adversity, her determination to see through the changes she had initiated, ensured that her name would live on in history. In the stillness of your rest, allow the wisdom of Isabella's journey to wash over you, knowing that greatness often comes not from avoiding difficulty, but from embracing the trials and transforming them into purpose. Her story reminds you that, like her, you too have the strength within you to navigate through the obstacles that life may present. Through vision and determination, you can carve a path of lasting impact, leaving behind a legacy that endures far beyond your own time. As you relax deeper into sleep, the quiet confidence of Isabella settles within you. Feel the power of her resilience, her intellect, and her vision as a guiding force, reminding you that even the greatest queens had moments of vulnerability. But in those moments, they found the strength to rise, to continue, and to lead with an unshakable sense of purpose. Allow that same calm and strength to carry you forward, knowing that your own journey, like Isabella's, can be one of great impact and enduring influence. In the soft, steady rhythm of your breath, you drift deeper into the quiet tranquility of sleep, yet a new figure rises to the forefront of your thoughts. A queen not born to power, but forged in the fires of defiance and strength. Picture yourself standing on the ancient desert sands of Palmyra, a land at the crossroads of empires, where the distant sound of wind brushes against the walls of a glorious palace. The sun sets behind you, casting a golden light over the ruins of a city once vibrant with trade, culture, and the spirit of resilience. This is the kingdom of Zenobia, a queen who challenged the mighty Roman Empire, a ruler who refused to be silenced by the forces that sought to control her. Feel the heat of the desert beneath your feet as you stand beside Queen Zenobia, the ruler of Palmyra, gazing out over her flourishing city. Zenobia was not born into the luxury of royalty. Her rise to power was the result of fortitude, intelligence, and an unwavering determination to protect her people and her legacy. As the widow of Odenathus, Zenobia inherited the throne of Palmyra, but she did not simply rule as a figurehead. She took charge, strengthening the city's military and asserting its independence in a time when the Roman Empire loomed large to the west. You can feel Zenobia's confidence and sharp intellect as she walks through the bustling streets of Palmyra. She knew that to stand against the Roman Empire, she would need more than just strength. She would need alliances, strategy, and a resolve that would test the very limits of her leadership. She turned Palmyra into a hub of trade, culture, and military might, consolidating power in the east and building alliances with other regions. Her efforts to expand Palmyra's influence even reached into Egypt, where she sought to unite the East in defiance of Roman control. Zenobia's ambition was unmatched, and her intellect allowed her to maneuver through the intricacies of politics, making her a formidable opponent to Rome. But even with her strategic brilliance and expanding influence, Zenobia's defiance came at a cost. Imagine the tension that must have simmered between her and the Roman authorities, whose power and reach were almost absolute. The Roman Emperor Aurelian, determined to maintain control over his vast empire, could not allow a queen to rise and challenge the Roman supremacy. The day Zenobia took her stand against the Romans, declaring her independence and the autonomy of Palmyra, marked the beginning of a fierce and unrelenting battle. As you feel the stirrings of tension in the air, Zenobia's determination becomes palpable. In the palace halls of Palmyra, filled with the sound of strategy, she prepares her forces for the coming Roman invasion. Despite the odds, she does not retreat or abandon her people. Her heart beats with the fire of someone who understands the importance of legacy, of freedom, and of standing for something greater than herself. Zenobia's strength was not only in her power to lead her people, but in her unwavering belief that her actions would be remembered, that her stand against Rome would make history. Feel the confidence radiating from her as she rallies her troops. Zenobia is not just a queen. She is a symbol of resilience, a reminder that the greatest empires are not built solely on military might, but on the unwavering belief that one person, one leader, can change the course of history. When the Roman legions finally arrived at Palmyra's gates, Zenobia led her forces with unbreakable resolve. But even the strongest spirit cannot always withstand the tides of war. The battle was long, but eventually Zenobia's forces were defeated by the might of Rome. As you stand by her side, You feel her bravery even in the face of capture. Zenobia's defeat was not the end of her story, for she was brought to Rome as a prisoner. Yet, even in captivity, her dignity remained intact. She was displayed in a triumphal parade before the Roman crowds, but her courage never faltered. Zenobia's legacy as a fierce and uncompromising ruler who dared to challenge one of the greatest empires in history endures beyond her defeat. Imagine the quiet resolve in her heart as she was paraded through Rome, her head held high. Zenobia's defiance wasn't just a political stance, it was a reflection of her indomitable spirit, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there is strength in standing for one's beliefs. Though her empire was lost, her name lived on, and the story of her courage would be told for centuries. Her legacy as a resilient leader, someone who dared to challenge the powerful Roman Empire, continues to inspire. As you rest, let Zenobia's story settle in your heart. She may have fallen, but her legacy is not one of defeat, but of courage and unwavering commitment to her people and her cause. Like Zenobia, you too can find the strength to face the greatest challenges, knowing that your legacy will live on in the choices you make today. As the night deepens and the world around you grows still, the focus shifts to a new realm, the vast empire of Maria Theresa, whose reign represents the delicate balance between strength and wisdom. Imagine yourself in the opulent halls of the Hofburg Palace in Vienna, where the chandelier light softly illuminates the marble floors, casting a glow on the rich tapestries that tell stories of an empire stretching across Europe. Here, in this majestic setting, Maria Theresa faced the weight of a nation in turmoil. Yet with a steady hand and sharp mind, she transformed her empire. Maria Theresa's path to power was not smooth. Born to Charles VI of the Holy Roman Empire, Maria Theresa was the only surviving heir, but many doubted her ability to rule due to her gender. Upon her father's death, she became the Queen of Hungary and Bohemia and the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. Despite her initial challenges, from military opposition to resistance from European courts, Maria Theresa proved herself to be a ruler who would not yield. Feel the intensity in the air as she rises to the challenge, her determination etched in every decision she makes. With each decree, each policy, and each reform, she worked tirelessly to strengthen her empire, not just through military conquest, but by shaping the very structures of power in her realm. Picture Maria Theresa sitting at her massive desk, surrounded by the clutter of documents, letters, and royal affairs. She would draft policies aimed at reform, not just of the military, but of the tax system, education, and healthcare. Her reforms were rooted in the belief that the people of her empire were the backbone of its future. As the world around her grew increasingly complex, with factions and rivalries within her empire and with foreign powers, Maria Theresa's ability to see the bigger picture was what set her apart from other rulers. She wasn't just concerned with holding power, she was determined to reshape her empire into something stronger, more cohesive, and more prosperous. Feel the weight of her reforms as they begin to take root. The military restructuring she introduced transformed her army, making it a force capable of defending her territories. Her financial policies helped stabilize the empire's economy, while her educational reforms promoted the idea that learning and innovation were crucial to the empire's long-term success. She promoted equality within her realms, ensuring that even those who had been traditionally overlooked in society could find a way to contribute to the future of her empire. Her approach to governance was a blend of compassion and pragmatism. Unlike many monarchs of her time, Maria Theresa ruled not only with strength, but with a deep sense of duty to her people. She understood that a ruler must not only lead with force, but with care for the well-being of the realm. Her empathy towards the common people set her apart from other monarchs. Her policies were aimed at improving lives, from reforming the education system to improving the welfare of the poor. Feel the compassionate wisdom in her decisions, knowing that her actions were taken not for her own glory, but for the future of her empire. But even in the midst of reform, Maria Theresa faced challenges that would test the very heart of her rule. Feel the weight of the wars she fought, particularly the War of the Austrian Succession, where her empire was threatened from all sides. France, Prussia, and Bavaria all sought to take advantage of the power vacuum created by her ascension to the throne. Yet, with determination and the support of loyal generals and advisors, Maria Theresa managed to defend her kingdom. These struggles would shape her leadership, a constant reminder that even the greatest reforms can be disrupted by the harsh realities of war. In the quiet moments of Maria Theresa's life, after the chaos of battle and the weight of politics, you can imagine her retreating to her private chambers, perhaps with a warm cup of tea, reflecting on the empire she had built. Despite her triumphs, she often had to make personal sacrifices. As a mother of many children, her family life was marked by tragedy, especially the untimely death of her beloved husband, Francis I, which left her to rule alone. Feel the weight of her personal loss and how it fueled her sense of duty. She did not falter even in the face of grief. The burden of leadership was hers to carry alone, but she did so with a steady hand, guided by the belief that her duty to her people and her children was paramount. Now, imagine the peace that settles over her empire as she ages, her legacy secure, knowing that she had steered her kingdom through times of turmoil and change. Maria Theresa, despite the challenges she faced, leaves behind a kingdom stronger than ever, with a legacy that endures beyond her reign. Her story is not one of fleeting triumph, but of sustained strength, vision, and the ability to build something that would carry on for generations to come. As you drift into a peaceful sleep, reflect on Maria Theresa's steadfast leadership. She showed that true power lies not only in the military conquests and the empires built, but also in the reforms that shaped the lives of the people. Her empathy, intellect, and resilience make her one of the greatest monarchs in history. Her example serve as a reminder that leadership, whether in a kingdom or in our own lives, requires not just strength, but a profound sense of compassion and a willingness to act for the greater good. Feel the quiet comfort of her legacy, knowing that the true power of leadership is in the way it affects the lives of others, and that your own path, much like Maria Theresa's, can be defined by the decisions you make with both strength and compassion. As the night deepens and the world around you becomes softer, the story of another extraordinary queen unfolds before your mind's eye. Imagine walking through the grand halls of the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg, where the echoes of history linger in the air, mingling with the scent of polished wood and the soft flicker of candlelight. It is here that the immense empire of Catherine the Great stretches far beyond the eye can see, covering vast landscapes from the snowy tundras of Russia to the Black Seas. Her reign, marked by vision and transformation, unfolds like the beauty of a garden blossoming in the cold of winter, filled with intellectual ideas, art, and philosophical enlightenment. Picture Catherine not as the delicate princess who came from humble beginnings, but as the formidable ruler who expanded the Russian Empire with intelligence, insight, and political mastery. Catherine the Great, born as Sophia of Anhalt-Zerbst, married Peter III, the Emperor of Russia. And though their marriage did not start in the most promising way, it was her determination and strength of character that would soon change the course of Russian history. After Peter's overthrow, Catherine seized the throne with a resolve that would establish her as one of the most powerful and transformative monarchs in European history. Feel the quiet energy of her brilliant mind, which, despite her royal constraints, sought to bring about change and progress for her people. Step into her private study, surrounded by bookshelves filled with the works of Voltaire, Diderot, and other leading intellectuals of the Enlightenment era. Catherine's reign was deeply influenced by Enlightenment ideas, and she took great pride in being seen as a philosopher queen, ruling with the wisdom and reformist ideals of the age. Her mind was sharp, her appetite for knowledge insatiable, and she corresponded with many of the greatest thinkers of her time. In this space, you can almost hear the quiet rustling of parchment as she drafts letters of reform, her thoughts carefully composed to bring about a brighter future for Russia. Catherine saw the importance of knowledge, education, and the intellectual progress that could elevate her empire to the heights of European power. Yet, Catherine's reign was not merely about the transformation of the mind, but about securing her empire through both diplomacy and military conquest. Feel the brisk wind of the Russian steppe as Catherine made her way to the front lines, leading her troops and expanding her dominion. Under her rule, Russia gained vast territories, and her diplomatic genius allowed her to form key alliances with Prussia and Austria, giving Russia a commanding presence in European politics. As the tapestry of Russian power unfurled, Catherine's vision of a stronger, more unified empire came into full view, with new cities, fortresses, and trade routes thriving under her rule. Despite her grandeur, Catherine's rule was not without challenges. Imagine her confronting the Pugachev rebellion, a force that threatened the very stability of her reign. The rebellion, led by a Cossack named Emelian Pugachev, echoed the discontent of the Russian peasantry and the struggles of the lower classes under the weight of serfdom. But Catherine, with her characteristic resolve, faced the rebellion head-on, ultimately quelling the uprising and restoring her authority. This moment of crisis underscored the complexity of her rule, balancing her ambition to modernize Russia with the deep-rooted inequalities within her society. Still, Catherine's legacy was largely defined by her commitment to enlightened reform. She abolished torture, reformed the legal system, and sought to modernize Russian society in alignment with the Enlightenment values she so admired. Feel the quiet pride in her work as she gazes out over the vast landscapes of Russia, knowing that her reign was not just about military conquest or territorial expansion, but about the deeper, more lasting changes she made in her society. Through her efforts, the arts flourished, and Russia became a cultural hub, with great theaters, operas, and libraries being established under her patronage. As you rest in the stillness of the night, allow the weight of Catherine's achievements to settle in your mind. She ruled not through the sheer force of arms alone, but through vision, intellect, and compassion for the future of her people. Her determination to bring Russia to the forefront of European affairs, her ability to lead through the complexities of the time, and her fierce love of knowledge set her apart from many of her contemporaries. She, like the greatest of monarchs, understood that true leadership is not defined by the size of one's empire, but by the lasting impact one leaves behind. Feel the soft, settling peace of her legacy as it embraces you. Just as Catherine transformed Russia, you too have the power to shape your own world through vision, determination, and the commitment to growth and progress. Catherine the Great reminds us that greatness is not given, it is earned through resilience, innovation, and a steadfast will to make the world better for those who will follow. Let this sense of peace and purpose guide you into the quiet of sleep, knowing that your own legacy, shaped by your choices and dreams, can echo across time, just as Catherine's has. As you drift into a deep rest, embrace the tranquility of knowing that you too, like Catherine, can make your mark, not just through your strength, but through the wisdom and vision you bring into the world. As you sink deeper into the embrace of sleep, the world shifts to the Victorian era, a time of immense change, growth, and industrialization. Imagine walking down the cobbled streets of London, where the sounds of horse-drawn carriages echo softly in the distance, and the scent of freshly baked bread and coal fires mingles in the crisp air. The gloomy fog of the city seems to hold the weight of history, that there, amid the stone buildings, stands the figure of Queen Victoria, the longest reigning monarch in British history. Feel the presence of her legacy, a queen whose reign defined an era, shaping the world's future in ways that continue to echo through time. Victoria, crowned queen at just 18, ascended to the throne in the midst of uncertainty and political unrest. Her reign, which lasted for more than 63 years, is marked by the tremendous social, cultural, and technological changes that swept through Britain and the world. The Industrial Revolution, the expansion of the British Empire, and the rise of modernity all unfolded under her watch. Yet, despite the immense responsibilities and challenges she faced, it was her unyielding strength and steadfast leadership that carried her through even the darkest moments of her reign. As you walk beside her in the grand halls of Buckingham Palace, feel the weight of her decisions and the quiet strength with which she bore the crown. Her reign was not one of idle luxury. It was a time of political turbulence and constant change. The monarchy, once seen as a purely ceremonial role, was redefined by Victoria, who took her role as queen with the utmost seriousness. She ruled with grace, but also with a firm resolve that made her one of the most influential monarchs in British history. Her influence extended beyond the palace walls, shaping not only the political landscape, but also the cultural and social fabric of an entire nation. Feel the poise and dignity she brought to her role as monarch. Victoria's leadership style was defined by her deep sense of duty and commitment to her people. Her marriage to Prince Albert, a union based on love and mutual respect, strengthened both her personal life and her role as a monarch. Together, they were not only a symbol of royal solidarity, but also collaborators in shaping the Victorian ideal. Under their leadership, Britain became a powerhouse of industry, innovation, and influence. From the creation of the Great Exhibition to the expansion of the British Empire, Victoria's reign witnessed the rise of technological advancements, like the telegraph, the steam engine, and the birth of modern cities. Yet, despite her external strength, Victoria's reign was also marked by moments of personal grief and vulnerability. The death of her beloved husband, Prince Albert, in 1861 left her devastated, and for years she wore mourning black, symbolizing her sorrow and the profound impact of his loss on her life. This period of grief gave her reign an emotional depth, as her subjects saw the queen not only as a figure of authority, but also as a human being capable of heartache and resilience. Victoria's sorrow became part of her legacy, and it connected her more deeply with her people, who saw in her not just a monarch, but a woman enduring the trials of life. In the quiet moments of rest, picture Victoria as she reflects on her long reign, perhaps in the seclusion of her private rooms at Osborne House. The soft glow of the firelight dances on the walls as she reads letters from her children or listens to the sounds of the waves crashing against the cliffs outside. As she gazes out at the vastness of her empire, she thinks of the lives she has touched, the changes she has wrought, and the legacy she will leave behind. Her reign has seen the world transform in unimaginable ways, and yet it is the personal connections she forged with her family, with her subjects, and with the men and women who shaped her era that she holds most dear. Asterisk, as you continue to rest, let the legacy of Queen Victoria settle in your mind. Her reign was one of contradictions. It was a time of great advancement and modernization, yet also a time of conservative values and social expectations. But through it all, Victoria ruled with a quiet strength that was rooted in her sense of duty, her love for her people, and her commitment to the monarchy. She was a queen who, though deeply affected by personal tragedy, understood the importance of carrying on, of continuing to lead, to serve, and to shape the future of a nation. Victoria's legacy continues to echo, not only in the history of Britain, but in the societal changes that arose during her reign. The Victorian era gave birth to modern life as we know it today, and Victoria, through her leadership, helped steer the ship of empire through calm and storm alike. Let her story inspire you as you sleep to find your own quiet strength in the face of the challenges that may come your way. Like Queen Victoria, you too have the ability to shape the future with grace, resilience, and a deep sense of purpose. Now, as you sink deeper into rest, feel the peace that comes from knowing that your journey, like Victoria's, is defined by moments of strength and sorrow, and that both are integral to the legacy you leave behind. As the night stretches on and the stars twinkle above, you find yourself transported to the heart of ancient Egypt. Standing at the shores of the Nile River, the warm desert breeze brushes against your skin, carrying the scent of frankincense and the distant hum of the city of Alexandria. This is where the life of Cleopatra VII, one of the most fascinating and complex queens in history, unfolds. Feel the weight of the sun setting over the river, casting a golden glow on the grand palaces that dot the skyline, their silhouettes etched against the vibrant sky. Cleopatra, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty, was a queen like no other. Born into a world of political intrigue, she was thrust into the role of queen at a young age after the sudden death of her father. But Cleopatra was no ordinary ruler. She was a woman of extraordinary intellect, charm, and strategic foresight. Her story is not one of simple inheritance, but of a queen who fought to hold her throne in a world dominated by powerful empires. Feel the tension in the air as Cleopatra steps forward, determined to regain her rightful place in a kingdom teetering on the brink of collapse. Her path to power was paved with complex alliances and political maneuvering, but it was also marked by her deep understanding of the art of diplomacy. The future of Egypt depended on Cleopatra's ability to navigate the treacherous waters of the Roman Empire, and she did so with grace, wit, and an undeniable charisma. Her legendary relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were not just personal, but deeply political, strengthening Egypt's position at the crossroads of East and West. Feel the magnetic pull of Cleopatra's presence, a queen whose intelligence and beauty captivated the most powerful men of the ancient world. But her influence was not based solely on her allure. She was a skilled diplomat and a master of statecraft, able to read the shifting tides of power and adjust her course accordingly. Her alliance with Caesar marked a turning point in her reign, as they fought together to secure Egypt's place in the Roman world. But with Caesar's assassination, Cleopatra's relationship with Mark Antony deepened, and the two formed an alliance that challenged the authority of Rome itself. As you walk beside Cleopatra through the palaces of Alexandria, feel the tension that must have existed in her court. Cleopatra was not just a queen who ruled Egypt, she was a woman who defied the odds at every turn, challenging the boundaries of what was expected of a woman in a male-dominated world. She understood the complexities of power and knew how to use her charm and intellect to secure her place in history. In a world where the throne could easily slip from a queen's grasp, Cleopatra's determination held her empire together even as Rome's ambitions loomed ever larger. But even the most brilliant rulers faced their downfall, and Cleopatra's tragic end at the hands of the Romans is one of the most poignant moments in history. After the defeat of Mark Antony at the Battle of Actium, Cleopatra was left with no choice but to surrender to the forces of Augustus, then Octavian, marking the end of an era for Egypt. Feel the resignation in the air as Cleopatra, unable to bear the thought of being paraded as a captive through the streets of Rome, made the ultimate decision to take her own life. Her death, though tragic, was the final statement in a life marked by power, ambition, and an unyielding desire to preserve her kingdom. Even in death, Cleopatra's legacy did not fade. Her story transcended time, a testament to a woman who rose to the highest echelons of power, fought for her people, and challenged the greatest empire the world had ever known. Her intelligence, leadership, and strategic brilliance were as much a part of her legacy as her romantic relationships. Cleopatra is remembered not only for her beauty, but for her strength and ability to command respect in the most dangerous of political arenas. Now, as you lie back, feel the quiet majesty of Clotilda's reign settling over you. She ruled not just through beauty, but through wisdom, courage, and resolve. Let her story be a reminder that true strength lies in the ability to adapt, to challenge the norms, and to always seek a way to rise, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Cleopatra's reign, though ultimately ending in defeat, proved that a woman's impact on the world is timeless. Her influence far-reaching. As you slip further into rest, know that Cleopatra's legacy continues to inspire, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity, and a reminder that one's true power lies not in external forces, but in the ability to forge your own path and leave a lasting mark on the world. As you settle deeper into the peaceful rhythm of sleep, your mind drifts to the heart of Byzantium, where the story of Theodora, one of the most remarkable women in history, quietly unfolds. Picture the golden domes of Hagia Sophia shimmering under the sunlight, a beacon of Christian faith and architectural genius. Feel the ancient stone beneath your feet as you walk through the great city of Constantinople, where Theodora once walked, not as a queen by birth, but as a woman who rose from obscurity to become the empress of the Byzantine Empire. Her story is one of unparalleled resilience, a reminder that greatness often arises from humble beginnings. Theodora was born into a life of hardship, the daughter of a bearkeeper at the Hippodrome. Her early years were marked by poverty and the challenges of surviving in the turbulent streets of Constantinople were immense. Yet Theodora, driven by an unyielding spirit, refused to accept the limits that her birth imposed upon her. Instead, she found a way to rise. Imagine her, a young woman full of ambition, her mind keen and her will unbroken, navigating the complexities of the world with intelligence and grace. Her journey was not an easy one, yet it was her determination and her ability to adapt that ultimately led her to the throne beside her husband, Emperor Justin. Feel the quiet strength that emanates from Theodora as she enters the palace, a woman of immense intellect and charisma, far from the world of her youth. She is not just the emperor's wife, she is his partner, a powerful force in her own right, helping to shape the policies and decisions that would define the empire for centuries. Theodora's wisdom and strategic thinking were crucial during the Nika riots, when the city was on the brink of collapse. As the city burned and chaos engulfed the streets, it was Theodora's calm, resolute leadership that held the empire together. Feel the tension in the air as she stood with her husband, refusing to flee the palace even when it seemed that all was lost. Royal purple is the noblest shroud, she famously declared, choosing to fight rather than surrender. Her decision to stand firm turned the tide of the riots, ensuring that Justinian's reign remained intact and that Byzantium would continue to thrive. Theodora was a woman of reform as much as she was a ruler. She is remembered for her contributions to the legal system, advocating for laws that protected women's rights, such as laws that made it illegal to force women into prostitution and reforms that improved their status in marriage and family law. Imagine her carefully drafting decrees, her sharp mind working tirelessly to create a system that protected those who had no voice in the empire. She wasn't just a figurehead. Theodora was an empress who reshaped Byzantine society with her intellect, vision, and compassion. Despite the grandeur of her reign, Theodora's life was not without its sacrifices. Feel the weight of her personal challenges as she worked alongside her husband to maintain an empire that spanned continents. The demands of rule, the loss of loved ones, and the intrigue of palace politics were always present, but Theodora's resolve never wavered. She understood that to govern effectively, she must first understand the plight of the people, and she spent much of her reign working to improve the lives of those living under her rule. Her compassion for the poor and the downtrodden marked her reign as one of inclusivity and care. Imagine Theodora in her private chambers, where after a day of meetings and decisions, she takes a moment for solitude. The palace is quiet, the soft murmur of servants in the distance, and in this peaceful space, Theodora reflects on her reign. Her thoughts are not of power for power's sake, but of the legacy she will leave behind, a legacy of reform, compassion, and courage. Feel the serenity of her moment, knowing that she had not only preserved her husband's empire, but had also ensured that future generations would benefit from the changes she fought for. As you rest, let Theodora's story of strength, wisdom, and resilience settle within you. Her life is a reminder that true leadership is not just about the throne you sit upon, but about the choices you make in times of crisis, the reforms you enact for the betterment of all, and the courage to stand firm in the face of overwhelming odds. Theodora's legacy is timeless, and her story continues to inspire those who seek to lead with compassion and vision. Now, as you settle deeper into sleep, feel the calm that comes with knowing that, like Theodora, you too have the strength to rise above challenges, to make your mark on the world, and to leave behind a legacy that will echo through time. As you continue to relax into the soothing rhythm of sleep, your mind drifts to a time of great upheaval and transformation in England. Picture the mist-covered shores of the English Channel, where the sea meets the sky in a stretch of endless blue and gray. The wind stirs the branches of the oak trees in the royal gardens, carrying with it the promise of change. In the heart of this shifting world stands Queen Elizabeth I, a woman whose reign would mark the beginning of a new chapter in history. Feel the steady pulse of her leadership as she takes her place on the throne, not just as a monarch, but as a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and political savvy in an era marked by religious conflict and international tension. Elizabeth was not born into a secure throne. Her early life was marked by tumult as her mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed, and she faced the constant threat of political intrigue and assassination. Yet, despite these obstacles, Elizabeth rose from the shadow of her father's reign, where religion and politics were in constant upheaval. She was a child of survival, whose wisdom grew from navigating the treacherous waters of a court filled with betrayal and power struggles. As you stand beside her in the royal court, feel the weight of her intellect and determination. Elizabeth's greatest weapon was her mind. She knew how to play the game of politics better than anyone, balancing the competing forces of Catholicism and Protestantism, the nobles and the common people, the threats of Spain and France. Asterisk in the court of Elizabeth. The air is filled with whispers of alliances and diplomatic decisions. Her reign, marked by the defeat of the Spanish Armada, showed her fearless resolve. Feel the excitement of the moment as Elizabeth, standing firm in the face of an invasion, addressed her troops. With a mixture of grace and courage, she gave the famous speech that would seal her legacy as one of the greatest monarchs in history. "I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king," she declared. Her voice steady, unshaken by the monumental task ahead of her. Her words not only rallied her army, but also signaled to the world that Elizabeth would not bow to foreign powers. She would stand firm, no matter the odds. Feel the heat of the battle that raged on the waters as the Spanish fleet, much larger than England's, was defeated. The sound of cannon fire and the crashing of waves filling the air. Elizabeth's leadership was not just about military prowess. It was about her ability to inspire, to bring together a nation that was divided and on the brink of destruction. Her resolve was like a flame that burned brightly even in the darkest moments of her reign. Her victory over the Spanish Armada solidified England's place as a rising global power and set the stage for the Elizabethan Age, an era of cultural flourishing where art, literature, and exploration thrived up beyond the military victories. Elizabeth's political acumen is one of the defining aspects of her reign. She never married, choosing instead to maintain the image of the Virgin Queen, a symbol of England's independence and sovereignty. She understood the power of image and used it to her advantage, playing the role of an untouchable monarch, free from the influence of foreign alliances through marriage. Feel the calm of her decision as she navigated the complex relationships with foreign monarchs. such as King Philip II of Spain and King Henry III of France, knowing that her independence was the key to England's future. In her solitude, she wielded power in a way that few women in history ever could, keeping her kingdom intact and thriving amidst external threats. But Elizabeth's reign was not without its personal costs. Beneath her public image of strength, there was a woman who grieved the loss of loved ones, especially the passing of her closest advisor, William Cecil, and her beloved father, Henry VIII, whose influence had shaped much of her youth. Elizabeth carried the weight of being a queen in a world that demanded sacrifice for the good of the people. Loneliness often shadowed her as the choices she made, political, familial, and emotional, came with a deep sense of responsibility. Yet, even in these quiet moments of personal sorrow, Elizabeth's fortitude never wavered. She remained the Virgin Queen, devoted to her country and its legacy, always putting the needs of her people before her own desires. As you continue to rest, feel the quiet strength that Elizabeth embodied. Her reign was one of transformation, both for her nation and for her own sense of self. She was not just a ruler, but a symbol of what it means to lead with both grace and power. She did not merely survive the challenges of her time, she thrived. Elizabeth's story is a lesson in resilience and vision, showing that with intelligence, diplomacy, and a strong sense of purpose, one can navigate even the most difficult of circumstances. Let her legacy settle in your mind as you sleep, knowing that, like Elizabeth, you too have the strength to face the challenges of your own life with resolve and courage. Her story, like all the great queens before her, is a reminder that greatness does not come from power alone, but from the wisdom to make the right choices, the grace to endure hardship, and the strength to continue on despite the obstacles that arise. As you drift deeper into the peaceful landscape of your thoughts, the grand story of Queen Victoria begins to unfold. Picture yourself walking through the foggy streets of London in the heart of the Victorian era. The air is crisp, and the sound of carriage wheels tapping against cobblestones creates a rhythmic beat as you pass under the gaslit lanterns lining the streets. The world is transitioning, and the heart of the empire beats in sync with the advances of industry, science, and empire building, all under the watchful eye of Queen Victoria, whose reign would span more than 6 decades. Victoria, who ascended the throne at just 18 years old, was suddenly thrust into a world of uncertainty and change. As you walk with her through the grand corridors of Buckingham Palace, feel the weight of the responsibility that settled on her young shoulders. Her early years as queen were fraught with personal struggles and political challenges, but it was in the midst of these trials that her true strength emerged. Victoria's reign, which would become the longest in British history, was marked by remarkable stability in an ever-changing world. Feel the quiet determination that radiates from her. As she navigates the complex world of Victorian politics, where her strong will and sense of duty guided her decisions. While many of her predecessors ruled in the shadow of great advisors, Victoria ruled with an unmistakable presence. She may have been a young queen, but she was sharp and decisive in her actions, surrounding herself with the most intelligent minds of her time while firmly holding the reins of the monarchy. It was during these formative years of her reign that Victoria's deep commitment to her country grew, and her sense of personal duty began to shine brightly despite the privilege of her station. Victoria's life was not without hardship. Her beloved husband, Prince Albert, whom she married in 1840, was not only her partner in life, but also a trusted advisor and support in her reign. Their love was deep and unwavering, but the pain of his early death in 1861 marked the darkest moment of her reign. Feel the grief that lingered over Victoria as she mourned her loss, unable to escape the emptiness left by his passing. She withdrew from public life for many years, but even in her sorrow, Victoria never faltered in her sense of duty. Her strength lay in her ability to continue ruling, to remain steadfast even in the face of her personal pain through the decades of mourning. Victoria's reign witnessed the rise of Britain as a global power, expanding its empire far and wide, while the Victorian age itself flourished with advancements in technology, literature, and industry. Imagine the sight and sounds of trains rushing through the countryside, the clatter of machines and factories, and the first flicker of electricity, transforming the cities, all occurring under the watchful eye of Victoria. Her reign marked the rise of modernity, an era where the Victorian values of duty, discipline, and family became synonymous with British culture. Victoria's commitment to empire building and her firm belief in the British monarchy were defining traits of her reign. But as the years passed and the world changed around her, so did Victoria. She began to embrace the modernization of Britain, supporting changes in law and encouraging the growth of democracy. Yet her personal life remained closely tied to the tradition of the monarchy. She became known as the matriarch of the British royal family, a figurehead for an empire that spanned continents. As you rest, feel the legacy of Victoria's reign settling into your heart. Her determination, resilience, and commitment to duty serve as a beacon for all who seek to understand the weight of leadership. Her reign was long, but it was not just marked by longevity. It was a reign of transformation where the world shifted around her, and yet she stood firm. Victoria's story, filled with personal grief and political triumphs, shows that true leadership does not come easily. It is earned through commitment, sacrifice, and a steady resolve to see the people and the nation you serve through the tides of change. Now, let the gentle peace of her story wash over you as you slip further into rest. Victoria's life and legacy remind us that strength is not defined by the absence of sorrow, but by the ability to rise and continue, regardless of the storms that may come. Her courage, endurance, and steadfastness remain as a quiet, eternal example of how to lead, not with force, but with dignity, resolve, and an unwavering sense of duty to the greater good. Let this quiet strength carry you through the night, knowing that, like Queen Victoria, you too have the power to face life's challenges with calm, dignity, and purpose. As you continue to drift into the quiet calm of sleep, the weight of time seems to melt away. The stories of queens who once ruled vast empires echo through the ages, their legacies immortalized in the whispers of history. The tapestries of their reigns, though woven from the finest threads of strength, wisdom, and resilience, remain, ever present, influencing the world we live in today. The final, peaceful moment of your journey through these legendary queens is a reminder of the continuum of power and the impact that each leader, from Hatshepsut to Victoria, left upon. The fabric of time, asterisk. Feel the quiet reverence that surrounds you as the tale of these remarkable women settles deeply into your heart. Each queen, though different in their challenges, has something in common. They transform their realms, not simply through military power or political schemes, but through vision, compassion, and a deep sense of duty. Their reigns were marked by personal sacrifice, by moments of grief and triumph, yet they all carved paths that would echo for centuries. As you rest, reflect on the legacy of Hatshepsut, the queen who defied convention and led Egypt to greatness, or Catherine, who reshaped Russia with her enlightened vision. Remember Isabella, who united Spain, shaping the world with her courage, or Zenobia, whose fierce resistance to Rome echoed through history. Each of these women left behind a world that was forever changed, their strength and resolve becoming part of the global consciousness, inspiring generations long after their reigns ended. And then there is Victoria, whose reign marked the zenith of an empire. The Victorian age brought with it immense change, and Victoria, standing at the heart of it all, became a beacon of continuity and stability. Her influence was not merely a reflection of her title, but of her dedication to her people, her nation, and her unyielding belief in the power of leadership through duty. Now, as you lie still, imagine yourself drifting through the winds of time, carried by the soft, gentle currents of these queens' legacies. They are not simply figures from the past, but living symbols, reminders of what it means to lead with purpose, to endure with grace, and to leave behind a mark that echoes through the ages. Let their stories soothe you as you rest, knowing that the strength they embodied is now part of your own legacy, woven into the tapestry of your own life. Feel the calm of their reigns settling into your mind, the weight of their wisdom guiding you into a peaceful sleep. Their lives, though filled with challenges, are also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the power of determination, and to the strength that lies within each of us. Let these qualities infuse your dreams, guiding you toward a future where you too, like these queens, can face adversity with resolve, lead with grace, and leave a legacy that stands the test of time. As you rest now, feel the peace of knowing that the stories of these extraordinary queens are not just history. They are part of the living spirit that guides the world today. Their influence is timeless, their leadership eternal, and their strength forever etched in the chronicles of humanity. And so, let the quiet rhythm of their legacies carry you further into the deep embrace of sleep, where your own dreams are, filled with power, peace, and the quiet assurance that you too have the strength to shape your world. just as these queens did with their dot sleep now, knowing that you are part of this eternal cycle of power, grace, and legacy. Let your heart settle into the gentle peace of knowing that greatness lives in the courage to lead, the strength to endure, and the wisdom to shape the future.